Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the steps involved in creating a quote for a particular opportunity based on the position information that is there. So the way this works, if we're dealing with an internship or well, to start with an internship position, we need to make sure we have some basic information in here. We need to have our actual start date. We need to have our actual end date, which gives us the duration in weeks, duration in months, and even the duration in days. Important information. We also have to have at least one requested opening. If we don't have these things, then the quote calculations will not work properly. If we're dealing with a core position, in addition to that information, we also need to know the number of leaders, leader start date, leader end date, and the number of leader weeks. So once we have that information, those are the only things that will be used in calculations for a particular position. And right now, I'm just going to do a quote for a duration in weeks. This will be a CA quote that we will do here. And it starts by adding choosing our price book. So price books tell us what the pricing defaults and what product line items are available to us. And the line items are the equivalent of what were the rows in the spreadsheet and the pricing calculator before. So I'm going to close the position information. We don't really need that at this point. So I come in here, I've added my price book, and I can see that because there's something in parentheses here. And I'm going to go ahead and add product. And the way that this is intended to work is that I would come in here and select all, and then unselect the things that aren't relevant for this position. So if we look at, for instance, other miscellaneous things might not be appropriate here. Member, I'm going to spread this out a little bit so I can see this a little bit. So this is going to be a continental US. We don't need member to from Hawaii. Living allowance is long-term, is either going to be taxable or non-taxable, and we're going to assume this is AmeriCorps eligible, so we'll make this a taxable one, which means we also need the FICA long-term. Tools and equipment, not sure if that's relevant here. Duty-related travel, we're going to assume is relevant. Let's see, they mentioned wanting a housing allowance, so we'll do that, so which means housing by the SCA is not relevant, and chances are that utilities costs are not relevant either. Want evaluation, risk, technology, and we'll assume that there's workers' comp involved in this. Alright, so once I've done all those things, I hit select. And this page, all we have to do on this page is hit save, and this is because it's going to do some auto calculating for us, because this is how we manage our quantities in our situation. So you see what this has done is this is looking at, we look at some of the things that are here. It's looking at the increments. It's looking, is it multiplied by the openings? Kind of what is involved in that. And we can see that it is choosing, it is auto-calculating the number of months that or the quantity based on number of months and number of openings in a particular situation like this. So we can edit these things. So let's say for some reason we know that we need a couple of extra months of health insurance. So I can change that to 9. Or if I come in and do something, let's say that they, no, that's all I will do here. Or that for some reason we want to do risk management for only 25 weeks, strange though that might be. And I save that information, and that information is then saved for me. But if for some reason I decide that I made a mistake and I can't remember what the default settings are supposed to be, I can come into a given product line item, I click on reset, I hit save, and it will take it back to the original default based on the position information that's there. Okay, so if I next step would be to actually create a quote, and we'll call this testing live, and this is going to be, we're going to use this as a master quote, and we're going to save it with the status of draft. We can give the partner an expiration date of saying, hey, this quote is only good until May 3rd, if we so choose. And I'm going to save it as it is. And notice that we need the position information in here, which is really easy. We just click on it here, and it takes us right to the position we want to have. And you'll see why this is important, because this populates all of our information about the positions, being AmeriCorps eligible, duration, and so forth and so on. And we can see at this point what our estimated cost to the partner is. We could say that we want to do a direct cost offset using a contribution here of saying making this 50, or making the percentage here. So let's make this 6% if we wanted to. Right, and so then this is giving us indirect costs. It's giving us the indirect contribution of this amount. I'm also going to add an amount field that lets us populate that directly. Not sure why that's read-only at the moment. I can fix that. Okay, so we've got here then our total quote, and we've got our quote line items. And here's where I can edit them. This is where I can edit the actual cost of these particular items. But notice some of the things, the attributes in here. There is a sales price and a minimum price that is over here. So on any item, this is the suggested price. On any item where there's no minimum price, I can take this down, let's say as low as I want. All right. But if there's some place where there is a minimum price, like living allowance, the minimum price is 160. So if I try to take this to, okay, we don't need to know about that. We get our screen back. If I take this back to, try to take this even to like something like 155 and save, it is going to tell me that there is an error. I'm not allowed to do that. I'll show you the way we can override that if we need to. But the basic idea here is if there is a minimum price, you can't go below that. If there is not, you can change anything you would like. You can change anything you would like higher. So if this one, for instance, program support weekly, looks like I have the wrong value here. So if I make this $2,000, I can, and I can come in, I can save in this kind of all edit view, or I could go in, I can edit individual items if I wanted to. The reason for difference is if, for instance, like here, I've got a difference between the sales price and the list price. This is where I would be asked to enter in the information about that. So reason for difference. Let's see. Well, partner will offset costs. All right, and there we have it saved. Now, if for some reason you have a situation where there really needs to be a lower price than the list price, we can enable that to happen. We can override the limits that are there, but it is a very controlled functionality. Only an admin and a couple of other people would have the ability to grant someone the ability to override that by clicking on the override validations and or giving someone the control to do that. So it is possible, but not something we're going to let a lot of folks do. And the final step in creating a quote, well, not the final step, but one of the final steps would be actually to send someone a PDF of that. And it's very simple. You click on the button, wait a few minutes while it renders. So this is the quote, how it's generated and how it's displayed. And if we say we want to save and email this, we can take this, we can choose our oh, I thought I had, no, this is, here's my quote template, quote for your review, hello, since I don't have any member in there, it's not letting me, since I don't have any member, it's not populating that. The important thing is the narrative document becomes attached to this. So if I send this to you would be able to see what it looks like. Okay, and it's there. Final point I'd like to make about quote functionality is that once a quote hits the status of approved, some important information gets carried over into the budget. Oh, one of the things I should have done some in my editing. Okay, editing all. So travel duty, I didn't. So duty related travel. So if I say we're doing this on a weekly basis and we want $60 a week, and I save that. Right, so this is now rolling up that quantity overall for the position, and because this is approved, when we get into talking about our duty related travel and reimbursement requests, we will see that this information is carried over in reimbursement requests, right? So this becomes our budget. These become our budget line items from which requests are made. All right, sorry for a long one here. Thanks.